Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to request our chairperson to please stay with us. And we are moving towards our next session, and the topic is DPP-4 inhibitors, which is considered to be a friendly oral anti-hyperglycemic drug. And as a speaker, we have Dr. Meenakshi Dekar, a renowned endocrinologist. She will join us virtually. Over to you, sir.
Before we move on, we need to show the advertiser sponsors of this session, and I'll be playing the review right now.
Meenakshi.
Afternoon, sir.
Meenakshi,
Sir. Hi, Radha. How are you, sir?
Excellent. Today's teachers are getting so many calls from my students since morning.
So you are not there in the meeting physically today?
No. I went for a meeting where I was given felicitation as medical teacher. From there, I rushed to my house, so I couldn't manage to go to the hotel.
How nice, sir. God bless you.
Meenakshi, are you there? Please share your screen.
Yes. Should I share my screen?
Yes, please go ahead.
Meenakshi, the teacher holo na.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
But I'm very fortunate to have teachers like you in my life, sir. It is really a boon.
Start.
A very good afternoon, everyone. I thank the Howrah Society for giving me this opportunity of presenting the science of DPP-4 inhibitor. And the topic is DPP-4 inhibitor, a very friendly OHA. I am also privileged and honored that my session is chaired by Professor Samar Banerjee, sir, who is my most revered teacher, my mentor of all time in medical science. So the topic is very exciting today. It's DPP-4 inhibitor, which is indeed a very friendly OHA, something which is very efficacious, safe, and treatment which are weight neutral, weight reducing, with very minimal risk of hypoglycemia. There are individualized therapies which can address the complex comorbidities in interactions in type 2 diabetes. We are also now very well aware of PDS trial, and we also have improved compliance, which now leads to improved risk control and improvement. There are a number of gliptins or DPP-4 inhibitors in the market for the treatment of type 2 diabetes. Name a few: it's vildagliptin, sitagliptin, linagliptin, Sexar, teneligliptin, semagliptin, alogliptin, which are biological characteristics of the major inhibitors which are prevalent in the market or which are widely available in the market. And we go on speak about DPP-4 inhibitors. These are the things we normally about. That is the DPP-4 enzyme binding affinity, terminal half-life, DPP-4 inhibition at 24 hours post a particular dosing of DPP-4, the renal elimination, the doses adjustment which is required in renal impairment, the frequent accompaniment of individuals having type 2 diabetes, and also doses adjustment in hepatic. So each of these DPP-4 inhibitors have their unique DPP-4 binding affinity, terminal half-life, we speak about linagliptin, we see that the DPP-4 enzyme binding is highest for linagliptin. When we consider this as the reference, sexagliptin has 45 times lower for enzyme binding affinity in linagliptin. Sita has 803 times lower than linagliptin. Elligliptin has 62 times lower than linagliptin. And vildagliptin is 364 times lower than that of linagliptin. What is intriguing is terminal half-life of linagliptin, which is more than 100 hours compared to 2.5 hours with sexa, 12.4 hours with sita, 24 hours with enagliptin, and 3 hours with vildagliptin. The DPP-4 inhibition at 24 hours post-dose is more than 80% with linagliptin, which is comparable to that of the other gliptins. However, after a single dose, the DPP-4 inhibition is less than 40% with vildagliptin, but the same stands at 80% at 12 hours post-dose. So, the renal elimination is least for linagliptin. The dose adjustment is not required for linagliptin, but it is required for sexagliptin, sitagliptin, enagliptin, and vildagliptin. What is important and what is intriguing and what is also exciting is the fact that dosage adjustment in hepatic impairment is not required with linagliptin. Sexagliptin also it is not required. However, sitagliptin has no experience in severe hepatic impairment, and enagliptin also does not have experience in severe hepatic impairment. And whereas vildagliptin, there is a potential for hepatotoxicity and is contraindicated in individuals having liver enzymes raised more than 3 times the upper limit of normal. Depending upon the recent evidence which has come out of the cardiovascular outcome trials of the various newer molecules used in type 2 diabetes, the positioning of DPP-4 inhibitors in the treatment algorithm of type 2 diabetes has changed. So we have lifestyle modification, which remains the first line, metformin as the first line of therapy. If an individual has established atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease or CKD, then we use DPP-4 inhibitor as the third line therapy if HbA1c is above. If there is no atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease or CKD, we may use DPP-4 inhibitor as the second line of therapy. Now, depending upon these guidelines, DPP-4 inhibitors, where do they stand now? So, DPP-4 inhibitors, which were introduced for the treatment of type 2 diabetes in 2006, has been with us for quite a number of years. We've gained wide experience with the molecule's efficacy and side effect profile. The HbA1c lowering capacity of DPP-4 inhibitors is in the range between 0.5 to 1%, and fortunately, HbA1c lowering efficacy of DPP-4 inhibitors is higher in India. It has demonstrated cardiovascular safety except sexagliptin and elogliptin, which comes with certain increased risk of heart failure. Most compounds can be used in impaired renal function, with some of them requiring dose adjustment. And DPP-4 inhibitors can be used as monotherapy when metformin is either contraindicated or not tolerated. And it has increasingly replaced sulfonylureas as the second line of therapy. And metformin DPP-4 inhibitor fixed dose combination has shown to be superior to simple metformin monotherapy in individuals who are newly diagnosed type 2 diabetes. And this message or this evidence comes from the verified trial. As a triple therapy, metformin and SGLT2 inhibitors, it can be used. It can be used across a wide number of agents. It can also be used with metformin and insulin regimen. And in that case, it decreases the dose of insulin required or also addresses glycemic variability in this kind of individual. What is most important and reassuring to the physician is that these agents, DPP-4 inhibitors, require very minimal monitoring among the newer anti-diabetic agents. That when we compare the glucose lowering efficacy of DPP-4 inhibitors with sulfonylureas, we see that they have a comparable efficacy with sulfonylureas. The glucose lowering efficacy of the various DPP-4 inhibitors, when we compare one DPP-4 inhibitor to the other, it is also comparable with most DPP-4 inhibitors, as we said, bringing about HbA1c reduction of say 0.6 to 0.8%. Fortunately, they have a higher efficacy in Asian patients. Perhaps because of the fact that Indians have significantly higher DPP-4 activity, which is observed, and DPP-4 inhibitors may be more effective in Indians. So, glucose lowering of DPP-4 inhibitor, when combined with other agents, has been very reassuring, and it shows good HbA1c reduction when it is used in combination with other agents. The initial combination of linagliptin and metformin was found to be superior to the respective monotherapy arms. The HbA1c reduction was good, and also the HbA1c reduction was durable. To back up this information, there are a number of articles, scientific studies which have been published in a number of articles. We see this article which was published by Vaishali Deshmukh. They showed safety and efficacy of initial combination therapy of linagliptin and metformin in patients with type 2 diabetes, and it showed that HbA1c fall was noted up to a tune of 1.83% with a fasting reduction of 33 at week 24. We have also other evidence from a number of other studies which shows that early combination therapy with linagliptin and metformin in people with type 2 diabetes improves the glycemic control to almost less than HbA1c less than 6.5% without substantially increasing the risk of hypoglycemia, which is a concern when individuals have such low blood glucose levels. Again, we have other studies which show improvement with the combination therapy. With linagliptin, fewer patients also required insulin initiation or required increased dose of insulin, which means that when an individual was prescribed linagliptin along with an insulin regimen, a dose requirement of insulin was found to be lesser, and lesser number of patients require initiation of insulin when they were given to patients who were insulin naive. So this slide summarizes the CD outcome trials with the various DPP-4 inhibitors. We have SAVOR-TE with sexagliptin, we have examined with alogliptin, sitagliptin has TECOS, and linagliptin has two major cardiovascular outcome trials as Carolina and Carmelina, of which when we see Carmelina has a patient base which includes high-risk CV events, patients with existing CKD, and it was carried out. Individuals in this group, Carmelina group, had the diabetes duration of almost 14 to 15 years duration. Carolina included subjects who had a median diabetes of around 5 to 6 years duration. And we have SAVOR-TE examined because with these particular kind of baseline patient characteristics. Now, whenever we are speaking of any anti-diabetic agent, there are three important things that we look into. That is the cardiovascular safety profile, the renal safety profile, and of late we have also concerns regarding the hepatic safety profile. So when we speak about DPP-4 inhibitors, these are the various completed cardiovascular outcome trials, which shows that all DPP-4 inhibitors are cardiovascular neutral. The MACE points, if we see, the 3-point MACE is neutral for DPP-4 inhibitors, and hospitalization for heart failure, actually it favors DPP-4 inhibitors when we consider the Carmelina trial, or when we consider the TECOS trial, it is neutral. With SAVOR-TE and examine, however, there is an increased risk of hospitalization for heart failure. The Carmelina study showed that there was no increased risk of hospitalization for heart failure in those patients with a history of heart failure at baseline. Patients who had history of heart failure at baseline, we see with linagliptin 113 patients, and in the placebo group there were 122 patients, which shows that first occurrence of education confirmed hospitalization for heart failure was lower with linagliptin compared to that of placebo. Subgroup analysis from Carmelina in fact shows that linagliptin has numerically lower hospitalization for heart failure risk in certain subgroups like the North American subgroup, the Asian subgroup, and those patients who were not using insulin at baseline. These are the results of the Carolina trial. With vildagliptin, we have the VIVID trial, which is, however, not a dedicated cardiovascular outcome trial. It was a 52-week safety study with around 254 patients, where the primary endpoint was a change in left ventricular ejection fraction. However, the concerns with vildagliptin in this trial was that the left ventricular end systolic and diastolic volume increased, which resulted in a little bit of higher mortality, ACS, arrhythmia in the vildagliptin arm. So when we speak about the use of gliptins in individuals having history of cardiovascular disease, sitagliptin, there is no specific concern or warning in patients with history of cardiovascular disease. Vildagliptin, of course, we should exercise some caution in those individuals having heart failure, NIHA class 3. With sexagliptin, cardiovascular outcome trial was overall safe. However, there was significant increase in the risk of hospitalization with heart failure in the SABRE-2 trial with sexagliptin. Linagliptin, the cardiovascular outcome trial was overall safe. Teneligliptin does not have a dedicated cardiovascular outcome trial, and there are concerns of QTc prolongation with the use of teneligliptin. Coming on to the second most important domain in type 2 diabetes is individuals with type 2 diabetes and chronic kidney disease. Linagliptin does not require dose adjustment for any level of renal impairment. Sitagliptin requires a dose adjustment of which has a normally 100 milligram OD dosing. It requires a dose reduction to 25 milligram OD in patients having severe renal impairment or end-stage renal disease and dialysis. Sexagliptin not be used in end-stage renal disease. Linagliptin does not require any dosage adjustment. So that is, we do not falter when we are using linagliptin in individuals with CKD, because sometimes with sitagliptin or sexagliptin, we may, or vildagliptin, we may actually end up using a higher dose in CKD patients. We have to keep monitoring the dosage of DPP-4 inhibitors in such patients. So going on to the emerging renal CV safety data from outcome trials, what we see is that from the Carmelina trial, we see that there's a risk reduction for albuminuria with linagliptin, 14% lower risk of progression of albuminuria, and 15% greater likelihood of significant reduction in urine albumin-creatinine ratio. Coming on to the third important comorbidity in individuals with type 2 diabetes, which is hepatic impairment, which could be any hepatic impairment, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease leading to chronic liver disease. When we studied, there are a number of scientific evidence, published data, which shows that in mild or severe mild or moderate or severe hepatic impairment, it did not result in an increase in linagliptin exposure after single or multiple dosing compared with normal hepatic function. This means that dose adjustment with linagliptin, when used in subjects with hepatic impairment and type 2 diabetes, it is not required with linagliptin. Linagliptin does not cause even severe hepatic impairment, and there are other studies which has scientific evidence to back up this data or this observation. We have this efficacy and safety of linagliptin in type 2 diabetes patients with self-reported hepatic disorders, which was a retrospective pooled analysis of 17 randomized double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trials. And this also showed that this large pooled analysis suggested that linagliptin is effective and is fairly well tolerated in people with type 2 diabetes and liver disease. We also have consensus statement on dose modifications of anti-diabetic agents in patients patients with hepatic impairment, which showed that median plasma DPP-4 inhibition at steady state trough concentration, healthy controls, and mild or moderate hepatic impairment patients was also similar. And that of normal individuals, as mild, moderate, or severe hepatic impairment did not any increase in linagliptin exposure in non-hepatic function. The authors therefore suggested that dose adjustment with linagliptin is not required for individuals having hepatic impairment. Now, we have virus infection because DPP-4 serves as a co-receptor along with AC inhibitor for all coronavirus infections like COVID-19. And however, the use of DPP-4 inhibitor, if it can reduce the viral entry in COVID, it was seen that Vilda and sitagliptin could not block the coronavirus viral entry into cells in vitro studies. And so the final messages are that despite the advent of SGLT2 inhibitors and the resurgence of GLP-1 receptor agonists after the advent of cardiovascular outcome trials, gliptins have been able to stand the test of time, composite benefit of minimal hypoglycemia, weight gain, effective glucose lowering, along with minimal drug interactions, CV and renal safety made gliptins an effective class of molecules that can be used in majority of the type 2 diabetes patients. Therapeutic benefits are bonus effects and found by the major large trials and have been disproven by these trials. And there is also a postulated theory that gliptins could be effective in the treatment of COVID. With that note, I would like to thank you for the patient hearing.
Thank you, Nilakshi, for the great presentation. Dr. Samar Banerjee, any comments? Dr. Jyoti Dev Mukherjee, you want to comment anything? Thank you, Dr. Nilakshi, for the great presentation. I do not find any question in the chat box. So I declare the session closed here. Thank you very much.